Stephen, thank you. Thank you for coming, sir. I appreciate you taking the time out. So for, this is the season finale, episode 20. I can't believe I made it here. So I was kind of thinking, and I was kind of telling you this. I was like, I want to bring somebody special. And when I ended on a bang, and I was like, who should I bring? And then I was like, what have I been saying? For 19 episodes, I've been telling people, go network, go network. And how do you network? Go find and, join your local chamber of commerce and be active. And so I have Stephen here. You're the president of West Orange Chamber of Commerce, one of the chambers that I'm a member of, and I'm very active. So like I said, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and coming here. And hopefully my audience, which is most likely, like I said, video people, can benefit from this conversation and learn how to get more involved and obviously at the end find more clients, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity to be on here. Certainly.
Let's bring it closer. Yeah, that's good.
Big shoes to fill, obviously. 20 episodes in, that's fantastic. So appreciate you having me on here and appreciate the opportunity to talk about the power of chambers.
Yes, no, funny enough, as soon as I started this company 2018, right? Before that, I was just a freelancer. And first thing I did, literally, I established the company, and joined the chamber. Obviously, I was so I started in Orlando. I was freelancing, and then briefly I left. So it was in Alabama, actually. So as soon as I came back, I was like, oh, I have to join the chambers. And West Orange Chamber was one of the first ones I joined. So it's so interesting to see full circle right now. It's been 3-4 years. And being able to talk to you. And like I said, to me, the chamber is the most powerful asset that we have as business owners because, especially as B2B, I don't think you even have to be B2B, but as B2B businesses, guess where our clients hang out? At the chamber, right?
Yeah.
And then the chamber is not only helping me find clients, it's helping me, be an advocate in the community, be involved in the community that we belong in. There's a lot more that goes with the chamber than just events, right?
Absolutely.
So let's get into it then.
Yeah.
So what does a chamber do for somebody who has no idea?
Yeah. So, the chambers are multifaceted, right? We don't just, have networking events and things like that. Of course, that's what everybody thinks of first and foremost. Whenever you think of a chamber, you think of the networking events, the opportunity to get your business out there. We do all of that, but it's so much more. There's the opportunity to push a legislative agenda, make sure that we're representing the businesses in our area before the state legislature, before local elected officials. We have the opportunity for workforce and professional development. That's something that the West Orange Chamber is getting into quite a bit this next year. But we also provide the opportunity for businesses such as yours to showcase yourself, showcase your skills, provides an opportunity for you to refine your art, get to know the businesses in your community. It's a great gathering place. We have members that are not only businesses, but we have elected officials that are members. We have nonprofit organizations that are members, and all of them come together at the chamber for the greater good of not only the business community, but the community as a whole.
Yeah, no, that's incredible and well put, because here's what I want people to listen. Obviously, if you're established, great, but if you're new, it's not just about finding clients and revenue. You have to, for you to become a business leader, you have to get involved in the community,
Yes.
but then you have to advocate what's better for the business community. And, it's very hard, especially as a small business to, you can't join that many PACs or whatever, to make change, versus chambers, I think, is a powerful organization where all the businesses can come together, and then we can make real impact. And I'm talking laws and legislation that can help the business community in general.
Well put. And I think the other thing that you hit on is it's not only the opportunity to do the work for or the business development and things like that, but when you start to put the collective power together, that network that you start to build. The network that you start to build by going to, our networking events and things like that builds into something greater. Get involved in committee service. You start to work within the chamber. You start to get to know people, and it leads to the business. I always tell folks, you can't think of it as a transactional, your membership can't be transactional. You may not get out of it what you put into it in that first year. Your membership dues, that first year, It's going to be an investment, but it's an investment in the future. As you get to build those relationships and start to network, the business starts to come. Mm-hmm. I always want people to think about that. And then the other thing that I want people to think about is, you get out of it what you put into it. Yeah. So, again, great, you're investing in the chamber. Maybe some time before you see that ROI, but I promise you at some point the ROI is going to come. And I have that testimony time and time again as I get out there, start to talk to our members. Everybody has that one story of that one perchance meeting that they had that ends up turning into a long-term relationship, business relationship, personal, professional relationship that leads to another one. And I hear these stories time and time again. It's about putting yourself out there, making sure that you're putting yourself in the right situation to get out there what you do and, advocate for your business, but also for the business community as a whole.
No, absolutely. And just so people understand my chamber history, you're absolutely right. Chamber is not where you go, you're like, I need sale today.
Yeah. Too late.
Chamber is where you go to build a business, right? A legit, network. And for example, sometimes with the chamber, it takes me almost a year and a half, meeting someone multiple times over the course of, let's say, 10 events and, online messages or whatever before we can close the sale. But here's the advantage. By the time that sale closes, at least for me, they're already like a friend. And then it's not just a sale. They're a promoter of my business. Not only are they reach out, they're like, hey, finally I need video, Ripple. And then it's like, oh, now also my friend needs video. And then slowly that network builds. And once you do this for, let's say, 3-4 years, you have built a massive network.
For sure.
And, like I said, not each person may not be buying from you like every month.
Right.
But let's say you get 4 sales, but 4 times, let's say 10, that's 40 sales that you weren't getting before. No. So it's a massive, it's a benefit, but it doesn't come immediately. Yeah. A lot of times it may take years to build those relationships.
Yeah. And I think the understated part of that is it provides credibility. It provides legitimacy to your business because folks see that you're not only trying to make a sale, but you're also trying to develop a relationship. Mm-hmm. And that's the important thing. Whenever you're going into this, you have to think about it as, I'm not just thinking about that sale. I'm not just thinking about that bottom line, the ROI. That will come, but you have to remember, you have to build those relationships. And it's like anything else. Once you establish that relationship, you're going to be the first person they call whenever they need video production, whenever they need, that product or service that you have. You're going to be the person they call because they've developed that relationship with you. They have that repertoire. They know that you are the person that is going to provide them with, the service they need and do it the right way. They have a trust. It builds trust.
Yeah. Exactly. And also, like I said, it may not just be them directly. It may be, because guess what? We're business owners hang out with other business owners. Yeah. So it may be somebody else. They're not, like I said, another meeting or networking or whatever, right? Where they go, hey, I've been thinking about doing videos. And they go, oh, Bindra or, whoever like that. And then immediately you can be a recommendation and you're no longer even a cold lead. You're a warm lead, which is so incredible. And that couldn't have happened without that power of networking.
Absolutely. And again, networking, again, like I mentioned, everybody thinks about chambers as networking, and we certainly provide unparalleled networking opportunities, but so much more.
Yeah, exactly. So let's go, let's think from a new person, right? Who's no idea about chamber or anything. Obviously they're listening to this and they're like, okay, so I'm going to go find my local chamber. And in obviously small cities, you tend to only have one, but in a bigger city like Orlando, there can be tons of chambers to choose from, and picking the right one, because like we've already laid the groundwork. Look, you have to be active, and you cannot be active in 10 chambers. It's impossible. Yeah. You have to pick the best one that may be the right fit for you. So how do they go about finding that right fit and I guess, I don't know, auditioning chambers? Is that even a thing? And starting that relationship.
Sure. Not all chambers are created equal. I'll start out by saying that. So, just because the experience that you're talking about may not be the experience everywhere. And so want to make sure that you're finding a credible chamber. What we've seen over the years is Chamber of Commerce, because of the legitimacy that we add to businesses and that we have in the business community with our elected officials, is there's folks that want to take advantage of that. And so you want to make sure that you're identifying a chamber that is legitimate, not just one that is one individual that's looking to capitalize on the solid foundation that chambers of commerce, which have been around since the 1500s, have laid. You want to find one that is official, right? That has those relationships, that has those a solid base of members, large businesses, small businesses. And a good way to do that is utilizing the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce does have an official listing of chambers of commerce that are members of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. So just like you join the West Orange Chamber of Commerce, the West Orange Chamber of Commerce is a member of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and is listed on the registry there. You can find us as a legitimate chamber. Also utilizing state chambers of commerce. So the Florida Chamber of Commerce is a great place to find your local chamber. A lot of times if you just interact with the business community, reach out to other business owners, that's a good way to find the Chamber of Commerce that's the right fit for your business. And if all else fails, look for the stickers on the doors, the plaques in the offices. That's a good way to do it too.
Of the businesses you like, that's so smart. No, that's exactly what I did. So, I moved back to Orlando and I knew exactly what I had to do, right? I was going to join the Chamber of Commerce. So for me, at least, it wasn't even a thing of question. But, I came from, like I said, I left for a small city and, there was only one chamber. So it made it very easy to join the chamber.
Where were you at?
So I was in Muscle Shoals or Florence area, North Alabama, near Huntsville. I don't know if you know that. Okay. So there was only one chamber. I joined it, like I said, very active. But then, like I said, I took my first opportunity. I knew day one, when I started the business, I wanted to come back. So, we're a Disney family. Plus, we started from here. So it was kind of like, why did we leave? But, happens to everyone. You have to sometimes leave to know, you made a mistake. So anyway,
grass
for
isn't
me,
always greener on the other side.
I'm like, it's not greener on that side at least. So, I mean, again, good small town feel, but it wasn't for me. So, especially running a business, it's very difficult. I travel a lot. The airport is smaller, not direct flights. There was a lot more actual issues. So anyway, so I came back and immediately I go, okay, Chamber of Commerce, and here comes the list. So my technique was actually interesting now that you say that. I was like, okay, I don't know which is legit, which is not. So I went to U.S. Chamber of Commerce, searched for chambers, saw the names. And then of those ones, I went on the website and I saw who's more active. And because, Orange County is huge. So there's a ton of chambers. And obviously I can't join all of them. So I wanted to pick the best one. And from my research, West Orange Chamber of Commerce, the most active, one of the longest ones with long, over almost 100 or over 100-year history.
Yeah, so 1972. It came on board with one of our large employers here in Central Florida, Disney. But so we've been around for a long time.
For a long, so long time. And I was like, okay, so it has a history, it has, reputation, it has, main thing for me also is that you guys were active, it wasn't just a boring old chamber. That's not as active. So anyway, so I went ahead and joined it. So that's, I think, an easy way to replicate locally. Just go to U.S. Chamber of Commerce, find them, go to the website, look at the local businesses, see who actually people are members of, because that's the point of joining a chamber.
It is. And, a lot of times we also have, depending on who you're working with and getting your business established, if you're going into banks to get a small business loan or however you're trying to do that, a lot of times they will refer you to a chamber of commerce because they know that as you're getting started up, you're going to need resources that a chamber can offer, whether that's help in getting your business established, whether it's help in, if you're opening a storefront, permitting, things like that. I can't tell you how many calls I get from new businesses coming to town that, even franchise businesses that, a lot of times that's turnkey. They have resources available to their franchisees. They come to us and say, hey, can you help us to get a CO or, get a health inspection? And we're there for that. That's the thing that people don't realize about chambers is we can help you access those elected officials or government agencies that, it may be more difficult for you to get access to.
Exactly. And like we've said so far already, like, you have to get involved. You have to ask the chamber for help, and you'd be amazed what all the chamber can do until you ask for it. Like on my standpoint as a video company, I'm like, okay, especially in this town, there's 3 colleges churning out hundreds of people every year, who say they're video professional. They're not all the same. It's a service. So, not, it's art and technicality all in one. Very, very hard to do correctly. So not everyone that's coming out is going to be skilled to get a business the results that they want. And how do you stand out when everyone is offering the exact same thing? I'll make you videos. So a business owner looking for, I want videos, can find anything from everything, and they have no idea how to vet it, because if you're not in the industry, you don't know. No. And the best thing for me was like, okay, so here's what I can do. If I make good videos, and if other people see my good videos, they'll want the good videos, right? And where's the best partner to have people, because not everyone's videos are great. So I'm like, if we make good videos and we share them, there's no better sales than that, because every business owner needs videos. That's not even a question. It's where to get the videos from. And the best thing for me was to approach the chamber. I was like, hey, how can we partner on that? I would like to make a video for the chamber, and not necessarily, again, you're going to get money from it. So don't go in charging the chamber the regular rates. I think it's more about a give and take partnership, right? You go approach them and you tell the problem, like, look, there's so many video businesses, and I obviously do better work. First, obviously do better work. So maybe work on that. But let's assume you are doing good work. Then go to the chamber and be like, I would like to share my work with the rest of the members. But the best way is, let's pick an event. Let's see an event where the chamber can find value using that video product, because you also don't want to be making videos that have no purpose. And I think that was the way I found being able to share my work with the other members, show them what we can do, why we're different, why we're better. I want you to kind of speak on that behalf. So as a chamber president, when, and it may necessarily be the West Orange Chamber, right? Assuming somebody's in California or New York or wherever, they approach their chamber, they join it. Obviously, don't do that day one. First, go build relationships. But then, I think the best way is when their craft is there, to share their craft. How can they partner with the chamber, and what would be the right way to approach it?
So I'll talk about the best way to partner with the chamber. But before I talk about that, one thing that I'll say is also a benefit. You talked about networking and getting your name out there, making sure that people know that you're delivering a quality product. The other benefit that those kind of events offer is you have an opportunity to listen to what the business owners in your community need. And too often, businesses coming to town, you're from out of town, you come into wherever you're setting up shop, and you think that whatever was working where you were before is going to work here. That's not always the case. And so chambers provide a unique opportunity to get a broad perspective of what the business community in this area needs. Video production, but what does that video production look like? Is it the on-site video production? Is it a studio? Does nobody in town have a studio? What does that look like? What are the needs of the business owners based on your location? What are the industries that are big in your area? Obviously, here in Central Florida, we have tourism, hospitality. Those are big businesses here. That's not going to be the case everywhere. You have to find what that business is and what the business needs are in your community, and utilize that information to kind of tailor what your sales pitch is. Whenever you're at these networking events or whenever you're trying to drum up business, you want to start to identify what the needs of the business community are. And the chamber is uniquely positioned to provide you with that information. You have a broad spectrum of businesses that are looking for products and services, and going to chamber events and being around the chamber, following the chamber on social media channels and things like that provides you with the opportunity to really dive into what the needs of the business community are.
I love what you're saying here. So here's a piece of advice, right? Directly. So first, find the chamber, join the chamber, go to the meetings, look at their social media, be active, find out what industries are present in your area, what's the need of the community, hear other members talk, see what they're looking for, what services are they trying to sell, and then try and cater your services to them and or solving their problems. So that's perfect. So that's incredible. And now let's move to the next part of that. Now you're like, okay, I'm ready. I understand the market. I understand how do I get involved? How do I get myself out there?
Yeah. So baby steps. Baby steps is where I'm going to go with that. All too often I get phone calls, and I say I get phone calls. Our office gets phone calls, and everybody wants a meeting with me. and they think that I'm the golden ticket, right? The president of the chamber is the golden ticket to getting business. I'm not. I hate to pull the curtain back.
Both the Amy's here for now.
Anyway, but I hate to pull the curtain back on that. But I'm not the person that you want to talk to. Initially, I think that there's a place and time when we can have a conversation, but get to know the volunteers. We have a strong ambassador program. A lot of chambers have something similar. The ambassador program, those are some of the super users, we'll call them, of the chamber. And those are the folks that have businesses. Those are ones that have gotten involved in the chamber, have found value in the chamber, and are now looking to help other businesses find value in the chamber. And so whenever you get involved with a chamber, my recommendation is seek out those individuals who are chamber super users, whether it be ambassadors, people that are going to networking events. That's the first place you want to start. From there, you're going to start to build relationships with the chamber staff. So if your chamber is fortunate enough to have a staff, you're going to want to get to know the staff members, because I'll tell you, I have relationships, but my relationships are unique in that they're a lot of times with the business owners or the C-suite executives in these larger organizations. Those are the folks that I'm interacting with most, because the things that they're asking for, when it comes to legislative or policy type things, those are the conversations that I'm having. My staff, on the other hand, are the ones that are setting up those events, that are talking to the members, on a daily basis, and so-and-so needs this particular product or service. That's the person that they're telling that to. I'm not involved in every single one of those conversations. So the more chamber staff members that have the job, the membership managers, the events managers, things like that, those are the folks that you want to establish relationships with early on, because the next time that they hear somebody's looking for someone to do some video work for them, they're going to think, oh, Vipul just joined the chamber. But, they have the knowledge of what folks are looking for. I have it too. Yeah. But I'm only one person, and everybody thinks, oh, the top of the food
plus,
chain.
I doubt. I've never asked you to recommend me, this type of business or whatever. It's always the staff. Yeah. And like I was saying, Amy, both the Amy's are my contacts at the chamber, and they've been great. And every time I've partnered with the chamber, I've technically started with them. Right. Obviously, the conversation may have led to Stina in the past, or right. But it was an eventual step. It wasn't necessary. No. So you're absolutely right. I don't think they need to go immediately start talking to the president of the chamber, build a relationship with the staff, because they're ultimately the people who are actually recommending you anyway. Right. Because again, I doubt Disney's talking to you and asking for a video person. That's not happening.
And I don't want to say it doesn't happen, but that's not how it happens.
So does it happen? Has Disney asked you, I need a video guy? I don't remember getting that call, Steve.
Not yet. The problem that I think that a lot of people don't look at it is, you always want to, the more tentacles that you can have in the organization, the better. Mm-hmm. So when you establish that relationship with the membership person or the events person, or the office manager, any of those folks, those are the ones that are taking the phone calls of, whenever somebody calls the Chamber of Commerce and says, hey, I'm looking for this product or this service, they're the people who are getting those phone calls. Those phone calls, unfortunately, don't make it up to me most of the time. If I answer the phone and I can help somebody, I absolutely will. But a lot of times, those are going to be the best resources for you as a business owner to, start to establish relationships to where you come to mind. And listen, I'll just tell you, we don't play favorites. So if somebody calls and says, hey, we're looking for a videographer, I'm going to say, hey, we have these members that can do it. If they ask for our recommendation, we've worked with this individual, we've worked with this individual, or we know that this company's worked with them, and we'll point them to someone who's done work with them. We don't put our name on.
Yeah, you're not going to play favorites. You can't do that.
We can't. We can't. Obviously. But I think that, the more you establish those relationships, top of mind, you make sure that you're a person that they think of as a resource, and it's not always going to lead to the sale, but I promise you that it will lead to you developing deeper relationships and expanding your network to a point where if and when the time comes that there's someone who needs that service, you're a person they think of.
Exactly. No, My goodness, so many golden nuggets in this one. All right, so that, like I said, so far great. So they've started now forming these relationship with the chamber staff, and now how do they approach a partnership? Eventually, again, like I said, I would give it at least a year before you do this. Like I said, chamber is a long term game, but it's worth it. Trust me. All right, so let's say 6 months to a year. Now, how do they approach the same staff members that they have, built these relationships with, about like doing some kind of partnership? And again, I know it's very nuanced, but we are talking specific to a video business owner audience. So kind of like, so you kind of see how we have kind of partnered with. I'm imagining that's the right way, unless you have another way that you can think of.
No, I think that there's a couple ways to approach it. And one thing that to keep in mind whenever you are trying to establish that relationship is folks in my position and chambers as a whole have to be careful. Whenever we co-brand with somebody, we have to make sure that it is a legitimate business, that, we are not, somebody's not taking liberties with our IP, whether it be our logo, whether it be our, anything chamber branded, because when you put that chamber logo next to your business's logo, that automatically adds some legitimacy. And so that's what we talked about a little earlier is, it can add legitimacy to your business. It can provide you with some credibility. But on the flip side of that, if we get into business with the wrong company, the wrong individual that, ends up burning bridges in the community, that not only reflects poorly on that individual, but that could reflect poorly on the chamber. So I have to be very careful whenever I'm choosing who we work with, making sure that I know the quality of their work. I know their, trustworthiness. I know that I can rely on them. I know that they're going to deliver a quality product. And so the best way to do that is start to do business with folks that I'm doing business with. So other chamber members, you're not going to automatically go in and the first contract that you get or the first business opportunity you get is going to be with the chamber. I want to see something that you've done with other businesses. I want to see something that you've done with other chambers. I want to see something that you have done that would lend itself to what we're trying to do in our chamber. And so my biggest piece of advice is make sure that you have a body of work that you can point to, that I can look at. And that's how our relationship started.
Because you have to have credibility, because we had, find other businesses, in that year, hopefully, again, if you found 0 sales, then something is wrong. Right. But ideally, in that time frame that you're going there, you're building these relationships, you're working with all these other, chamber members. Look, here's the truth. If they're at a networking event, they're looking for networking too. Nobody's there and they don't want networking. So if you're a networking event, that's what everyone wants. It's already, everyone's like, it's out in the air. Like nobody's trying to hide that. So the idea is to just go build genuine relationships. You don't need to, like we said already, that you don't need to be extra anything. Don't be the card ninja. Don't just start handing cards out to everyone. Just be genuine. Just build genuine relationships. And ideally, it's very highly unlikely that you've been there a year in a chamber, very active. I'm talking going to events, talking to people, and not found any sales. Yeah. And as long as you're good, is that what you're saying, right? You've built relationship. You work with other members. You have body of work that the chamber can then look at, be like, okay, this is legit. Yeah. You're doing good work. You're not burning bridges. Everyone's happy that's working with you. The chamber staff is happy. Like you've established yourself at that level. Yeah. Now may be a good time to think about maybe partnering with the chamber.
Yeah, and there's other ways to go about it too, right? Yeah. So that's I would say is option one. Option two is chambers not for profits. So we're always looking for event sponsorships and things like that. Another good way to do that, to get the name of your business out there and what you do, is think about sponsoring an event. Most chambers have events that are, relatively low barriers to entry when it comes to sponsorship. There's higher sponsorships of different events, but there's also in kind. And so starting that relationship by saying, hey, I think I can do something unique for you. Let me do it. Let me put together, something that I think would be beneficial, free of charge, able to showcase the work. and then start to establish that relationship so that long term, okay, I see that you can do this. You're putting out there, you're putting a good, it's a good benefit to the chamber. I know that you're not going to do anything to destroy our credibility or reputation. And then, that leads to more opportunities to do that kind of work. And, when I say sponsorships, that's all good too. If your budget isn't such that you can do something like that or can afford to take the time to put together something like that, even, you go to a networking event and you do a highlight reel that you put on social media. I mean, even something as small as that,
chamber will see it.
The chamber will see it and say, okay, this is good. I see that they can, put something together. And so, what does a bigger project look like? Exactly. And then you start to think about it in that regard.
And also remember, like you said, there's smaller events that the chamber may be, inclined to participate in. Like you can't just go for the big events, but you can always go, hey, here's a smaller event. I think the chamber always needs photography, video, some kind of highlight reel. There's a lot of things that you can just go and show your craft at. So you can always partner on those, right? Where you can be like, hey, this is a small event. I'd love to be the photography sponsor or the video sponsor or whatever. I'd love to make, I don't know, a highlight video or something, or a recap video, and obviously show some examples like, hey, look, this is what I kind of can make, so the chamber knows what to expect and it aligns with the brand guidelines. I think this is a perfect example how to get started. And like I said, don't go in expecting any kind of money for it. I would definitely do it in kind. Rather, sometimes, like I said, it may be best if you have clients, maybe try and even sponsor an event somehow, and that may be a good starting point. Right?
No, and I think that's the best starting point. Again, nobody is going to stake their credibility on you until they see that it's something that you can do. They see that there's a product there that is mutually beneficial, right? Because when you co-brand with that chamber logo, it adds legitimacy. But I'm not going to do anything that's going to jeopardize the chamber's reputation in our community. It's not something that I'm willing to stake the organization's reputation on.
Yeah, considering, just looking at our market, like, some of the companies that you're dealing with, like we said, are at companies like Disney. You don't want a video guy coming and, doing something silly and ruining, like you said, chamber's reputation or anything in general that's not up to par, because it's not worth the risk. So you have to make sure that whatever you're presenting to the chamber is beneficial to both, right? Like you're getting exposure. I hate the word exposure in our industry, by the way. So I don't know if you know this, but everyone, wants you to work for free, and they say exposure bucks. So I always am like, yeah, don't work for exposure. But this is one organization I feel like that may be worth it. Because, like I said, I'm established. I've done this for 15 years now, and I'm still partnering with chambers, sponsoring because of sometimes it's either, co-cost, like chamber will do part of it and I'll do majority of it, or completely free on some videos because it's totally worth it. Even at this scale, I'm like, it's worth it. So I'm definitely sure at a smaller scale, it's going to be absolutely worth it. So, but at the end of the day, look out that you're not a risk, and you can only determine that at first before you start that conversation. Until you feel ready, don't. And that's why, like I said, it's so important to get involved, take that time, build those relationships. You'll know, because when you start to show up at these events and people know you, the chamber staff knows you, you know that you're kind of getting there. Right? Yeah.
And absolutely. And that's the other thing, don't give away your craft, your talent, your time. It's worth something, but you also have to make sure that you are providing them with something that they again are confident that their reputation is going to be protected, that the integrity of their brand is going to be protected. Because once you do something for the chamber, you're not only representing your organization and putting your reputation on it, but you're also representing the chamber and what we put out to the business community. We have a huge following here in Central Florida, but it's not only with businesses, it's with elected officials, it's with the communities within Central Florida. And, they automatically, you put those logos together. It's very important to us that we maintain brand integrity. And so we want to make sure that it's quality product.
Yeah. So now let's assume they're taking care of that. How is there a certain way to approach, or I don't know, like what are the precautions, or if anything, outside of this? Like, what I'm trying to get to is how is the best way to have this conversation, and when is maybe the best time to have this conversation?
Yeah. So I think that, again, look at the events. I think that something that you keep hitting on that is important to talk about is the first year that you're trying to get acclimated to the chamber. This goes back to what we talked about. Listen to the needs of the businesses in your community. Also listen to the needs of the chamber. So don't necessarily, that first awards that you have coming up, go and say, hey, I'm willing to do this. Don't just, this event, I want to sponsor this event. Take a year, get acclimated, go through a cycle, go to everything for 1 year, go check out the networking events, go check out the awards banquets, go check out the professional development opportunities, and see where you can provide the most value. Because it may not be a highlight reel of an award ceremony. It may just be some social media post of a networking event or something like that. Don't bite off more than you can chew, and then, put yourself in a bad position for future work. So really take a look at the organization, get to know the organization, because that's the other thing, right? Is, you know that this part of your work is small portion. The interview, the video footage, whatever, that's a small portion of it. You have to go then edit that and you want to make sure that you understand what the snippets, because you're doing highlights, right? You're not going to do, you're not going to have the opportunity to do a 20-minute video or a 30-minute video. It's going to be broken down to 3 to 5 minutes, something short. Yeah. And so you want to make sure that you understand what are the things that chamber is trying to emphasize. What's the message that they're trying to get out that's going to help them recruit new members, that's going to help them retain their members, that's going to help showcase what they're doing in the community. And the only way to do that is if you have an understanding of what the chamber's priorities are. So get to know your chamber, get to know what they're focusing on, get to know how you can fit into the bigger picture. Rather than going in and just saying, hey, I can create a great video. I can create a hell of a video. You don't want to do that. I think that you have to.
Oh, you put, this is so good. But yeah, no, I've seen so many times where people go, I can make you an awesome video. And then they'll go, at an event or whatever, not necessarily a chamber event, just event in general. And then they'll capture a little bit of everything. And they put it together in like a montage with music, and they cut it to music. And then they share it, which creatively may sound good, because it flows together, but you show it to a client and then they go, what do we do with this now? Because it's irrelevant. Just showing beautiful images, maybe for social media might be fine, but this isn't necessarily helping the chamber or any organization get anything out of it. You have to look at the story, because at the end of the day, what we're doing is telling stories, and we're storytellers. And if we can't figure out what the story is, and not necessarily, here's what I want to say, the other side, we don't not necessarily get the story from the organization.
Right.
So the chamber may not directly tell me, oh, we need to do this, we need to highlight this, because like I said, chamber may not be able to pay for favorites. You have to figure out which are the businesses I want to highlight, which are the members that I want to show in this, and you pick, and you may get sound bites from everyone or a lot of people, but not necessarily when you make the edit, everything goes into it. Right. And there's an art to it, but that's very important, because at the end of the day, we want to move the message of the chamber forward, because we benefit if the chamber benefits, right, from the video.
Right. And also double-edged sword. If you don't know the nuances, don't get to know that chamber, don't get to know the nuances. I know, Vipul, you're familiar with, we have several major, healthcare networks here. We have several major tourism partners.
Don't get me started on that.
Yeah, and so you could also shoot yourself in the foot, in the sense that if you don't know the dynamics of the chamber, and you start putting videos together that have logos in them that should not be placed next to each other, or should not.
You won't say it, I'll say it. Don't put Orlando Health and Advent Health together.
We have great relationships, and that's the beauty of the chamber is we have great relationships with all of these organizations, and we know the nuances of how, they want to make sure that they maintain their brand integrity.
Exactly.
And so I would never want, someone to go off and do something that they think is fantastic. And, we're giving this free video.
Yeah.
No, like you always check with us, before you do any video work with us, and you make sure that, we're happy with the way that things are presented, because, there's sponsorship levels that you have to worry about. And so, somebody getting more screen time. Yeah. And so you want to make sure that, we are recognizing appropriately the folks who are involved with an event. And the best way to do that is to, yes, do those videos, but I wouldn't put anything out before checking with.
Exactly. Always have your revision process. Always send a unpublished video to your chamber contact. Have them review it, and it's okay. Also, some filmmakers, we get to like, no, this tells the best story. Yes, but it may not be the best story for the chamber.
Right.
You have to, or just any organization in general.
Right.
I think this applies to any work that you do, and which is what, as filmmakers in the corporate and commercial world, we have to understand that. Yes, as filmmakers, we want to make the prettiest videos that sound great, that look great, but that's not necessarily always the best video. And I would love for you to speak on this, because it's very important for somebody to get this, because like you said, there's a lot more that goes behind. There's like, from just, let's look at Chamber's perspective. There's dynamics. There's, like you said, like in Orlando, there's Disney and there's Universal. Both are great companies, but you need to understand where your chamber stands and who's the bigger sponsor, how you do it. There's very, very much nuance that would go in editing to build a video,
for sure,
that would not step on any shoes there.
Right.
And it's very important for you to understand that before you can even start to do it. And then obviously then send it to the chamber to comment on it, and we can make changes and stuff like that.
We're not going to step on your, obviously we're not in the business of making videos or so, we want that creativity. We want to utilize your skill set and expertise. But we also have to make sure that we are cognizant of, what is putting these logos together, what is, highlighting this company over another company, what does this do to the dynamics of the sponsorship levels that we have. And so it's very important that, especially if you're trying to do something pro bono that you think is good, and make sure that you're checking in with your chamber staff before you put something like that out publicly, because I don't want to have to call you and say, hey, that's fantastic. Creatively, that's fantastic, but that's going to present a problem for me. It's then going to present a problem for you, because I'm not going to work with you in the future if I can't trust the product that you're putting out is putting the chamber in a favorable light and our sponsors and our members in a favorable light. I'm going to have to make sure that I'm protecting our membership, protecting those folks who are part of our membership, and so make sure that there's no daylight between.
And I'm so glad you're here, because people need to hear that from, because you're not a video guy, right? You are a professional that runs a business organization in Central Florida. So people need to hear, because our clients tend to be organizations that, yes, like I said, we want to make awesome videos that look good, that sound good, and that's very important. Obviously, that's our craft. But the other biggest craft is storytelling, but the nuanced storytelling that it is. It's not always just straightforward as here's an event, here's what happened, and the story. Like, and I've told this story before, but I want to tell you one of the best things that happened with me last year was I worked with this company, one of our bigger clients for the year, and they had a big event, like $1 million event, and then the owner. Obviously you start out first with the employee, right? I don't remember their title, but let's just assume marketing manager. Okay, so we have an event, we want a recap video. Sounds perfectly easy. We do hundreds of those every year. But then I'm like, okay, and then I could have left it at that, sent a bill. Bad idea. They would have hated it, because I'm like, okay, so what are you going to use the video for? Oh, we're going to use it to find new clients. Well, technically, you don't need a recap video. Then that's not the same thing.
No.
Then it's like, okay, well, now I understand the purpose. Where are you going to post it? Oh, we're going to share it because we have captive audience. So it's like, oh, that's amazing. So you do events where you can actually because that matters time. Now I'm like, oh, time doesn't matter because you have a captive audience. And then it's like, by the way, even though it's our 25th or 50th anniversary, whatever, the owner needs to be, is very important on this. So I slowly realized, I don't think they put it that way, but the thing is, at the end of the conversation, I realized, okay, the story isn't company celebrates 25 years. The story is how awesome the owner is, how awesome the clients are, and come work with us, right? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you just take it at face value, you don't get it. And we made the video exactly not. So obviously in the contract says we're going to make a recap video.
Yeah.
But what did we make is more essentially I would call a sales recruitment video, but called it a recap video because the clients don't know the terminology. And they loved it. Best response, straight from the owner. Best video I've ever seen in my company.
Awesome.
But that only happened by asking those questions.
And you know, there's pre-work that goes into that, right? So, you know, and I'm not going to pretend to know your world, but, you know, asking the right questions ahead of time and, you know, doing it in an informal manner and then a more formal manner. And then, you know, the actual shoot, making sure the day of, making sure that you're checking in and doing all of that. But then follow up before you publish anything, making sure that, you know, they have a chance to look at it, make, you know, critiques, not of your creativity or your ability, but, you know, more so in making sure that the message that they want portrayed is portrayed. So there's a lot of pre-work that goes into it, but that goes back to, and I know I keep going back to it. Make sure you know the organization before you start to put yourself out there as a resource for that. Yeah. The better you know the organization, the better you know the event that you want to recap, the better you know the individuals that you're trying to capture, the companies that you're trying to capture, the more likely you are to succeed, the more likely your chamber is going to be happy with that video, the more likely that you're going to get business because of it.
And here's how I'll tell you. Just ask. The best thing is, so here's what happens. So just recounting what we do for the chamber. So you guys have Big Orange Awards, very huge event. We love to partner with that on every year. So what happens is I want to attend the event. I don't want to be filming it because what I am there to is network and build my relationships. I can't do that if I'm behind the camera. So I'll generally bring a crew to film with that. Now, the crew doesn't know these nuances or who to film and who not to film. So what I'll technically do, or I say Julie will do that, but we know what the story we want to tell, right? We will compile it. We'll even have pictures of people, like who to target, who to film, who to interview.
And just imagine like this pegboard with all of these pictures on it.
Kind of like, like a highway robbery, Arizona. It's more like a PDF document, and then I'll have Julie put together, but we'll share it with the shooters so they understand, because like you said, they don't know the nuance, they don't know who these people are and who we want to highlight and what the story we're trying to tell. So I'll generally give them a list of names. Sometimes, like I said, we'll even include pictures and we're like, this is the people we want you to interview or highlight or whatever. And then I'll ask our counterpart at the chamber, Amy, and I'll be like, okay, anything that I'm not thinking of, any people that I'm not thinking of, can you tell me their names, maybe their pictures? And you would be amazed how helpful the staff is. But you have to first ask, just don't go guns blazing, ready to make the video. I think it's very important to do what we call pre-production. And like I said, the easiest thing is just ask.
Well, and the other thing that just to pile onto that is it's not going to be the same every time. Yeah. So, just because you did this event in the past and you have a good understanding what the event is, the dynamics may have changed with the members or the sponsors. And so you want to make sure that you're just keeping in contact with, treat them like you would a new client every time. It's nice because you have that relationship and you know the questions to ask, the buttons to push, but you also want to make sure that you are every time going into it with a fresh perspective because things may have changed.
Exactly. It's always good to check in and ask about this year. What are we doing different? And sounds crazy. It's simple as just graphics.
Sure.
So sometimes, it can be like, oh, Big Orange Award, we have a package for it. So like, no, it could have changed.
Yeah.
So it's as simple as, hey, Amy, is the graphics the same or do we need new graphics? Something like that. I'm just saying it's very simple. It's just ask, be involved. And I think everyone's there to, collaborate because at the end of the day, we're there to make the chamber look good and the chamber is there to give us credibility. So we're both winning. So it's a partnership, and the only way the partnership will succeed is there's communication.
Sure.
But again, I don't know how you get there if you don't already have communication. So start there maybe, and then get to the partnership part, right?
Yeah. Take it one step at a time. And again, once you start to build that trust, once you start to build that reputation within the chamber, that's when your chamber is going to look at you as a resource for this. The reality of it is at the chamber, most of the time, they're a lot of businesses that are in similar industries or provide similar services, what separates those businesses is their ability to listen, their ability to go about it the way that we're talking about. Not just go in thinking I provide the best product, I provide the best, the best service. You have to listen to the needs, make sure that you understand what you're getting into, who you're working with, and that's when the opportunities present themselves.
Yeah, and like I've said in the past, people will, there's a lot of good filmmakers that are what we call starving artists. There's a reason, it's not just the art form. Yes, be good at what you do. That's very important. Obviously, get better at it. But that doesn't necessarily mean you'll get successful, because you have to learn how to communicate. You have to learn how to stand out, because like you said, somebody may be the best, but the second best may win because they were better at building these relationship and understanding these nuances, or making a better product that the client wanted at the end anyway.
Sure.
But because you were so focused on the art
Yeah.
that you forgot. I think it's important to find a balance.
Yeah, it is. And the other thing that I'll say is don't take it personally if you don't get that shot the first time, or if, there's something else, that if there's another project that, you're somebody does something in the same space and they're, utilized for something else. The reality of it is whenever you start to work with the chamber, there's going to be other folks, once they see you come out with something, they're going to say, well, I can do that. Yeah. I want the opportunity to do that.
I wonder how many are going to call the chamber, which I'm happy to. Look, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. I'm openly saying, please go. And if you're in the Orange County, please go join. Yeah. And he didn't pay me to say that. But you know what I'm saying? Go join the Veteran Chamber, because I didn't join it, out of nothing. It is definitely a great chamber. So why wouldn't anyone want to join it? And I completely understand that. Now, if 10 other businesses join that do what I do, and they do that whole process, they build that relationship and credibility, and the chamber goes, hey, for this event, we would love to try partnering with this chamber or this company, I'm going to somehow be mad about it, because I'm literally telling people to do this right here on this podcast. Yeah. But don't get emotionally involved, because again, it's business. At the end of the day, chamber can't build a relationship if you force them to. Well,
and it goes back to those nuances that we talked about, right? So there's nuances that we recognize within our membership that, hey, this particular company, this particular style may be better for this particular project. Yeah. Whereas your company may be better for another project. So don't give up. I would say that don't give up on the opportunity, looking for the right opportunity to do work, but don't jump at every opportunity either, because then you're going to, again, leads back to you may not be suited for it, shoot yourself in the foot, and then you destroy any opportunity for future collaboration.
Don't listen to other people. Trust me, I wouldn't have even been doing this, because like I said, as soon as I went to become a production company, I was like, I'm going to be better than a freelancer. I'm going to start a company. And, they're like, this is a small town. There's already an established company. You're going to get nowhere, blah, blah, blah. Had I listened to those, I would have gotten nowhere. Don't listen to all the negative energy around you. Just stay positive. Do your thing. And also you don't need to go badmouth anyone. Just go be good. You'll be amazed how much more business you find by just being a good person and doing good work, and how much business you'll lose even if you're good, if you start to now burn bridges or just be a bad person to hang around with. Because again, it comes down to relationship. People don't, even though, let's say they're not in video, you go, to a networking event and you're talking to someone, you're like, oh yeah, but they do terrible video, and I do great video. Guess what? Even if though you do great video, they go, what are they saying about me to someone else? So, and that's very easy to, I think, burn bridges in relationships.
And we talked a little bit about it at the beginning. The other thing is finding the right chamber for you. So if you know that you're the chamber that your first choice is saturated, maybe look at another chamber to get involved with. There's chambers, again, make sure it's a credible, legitimate organization. But if there's somebody in, West Orange County and that market's saturated, there's several other chambers that are in our local area that may be a better starting point. One of these more community-focused chambers, a chamber that maybe you look at the directory, you look at who their membership is, doesn't have that type of business. maybe that's a better starting point. I'm not saying, you can't join both. Certainly, options there, but, think about it as if my opportunity isn't going to be there, I need an opportunity to showcase my work quicker. Maybe try to identify one of those chambers that better align with your organization, your ability, your skill set.
Yeah. Or you could be a rebel like me. Like, I don't care. I'm just going to go do my best until I don't care how saturated it is. As long as you belong, you belong. Again, obviously, don't do that if
it's a business philosophy, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then I think both is good. That's why you go join both. And obviously only if you can be active. Otherwise, in my opinion, you're just giving money for no reason. The idea is the chamber's an advocate for you. You give your membership dues because they're doing so much more for you. But at the same time, like I said, you'll only get back what you put in it. Yeah. So only join the chamber that you're willing to put your time and effort into. Yes. But like we said, we've talked about this already, but like how much you'll get back is great.
So, when we talk about the opportunity to build credibility and build your reputation by joining a chamber, by getting involved with the chamber, to your point, the same thing could happen if you join a chamber and then aren't active and don't get involved. The folks that are active and involved, they're going to look at that and say, well, that guy's never at anything. Yeah. They're not willing to invest their time and energy to get to know us, to get to know our chamber, to get to know our community. And then it could almost be a negative against you, compared to the other folks that work in your same space.
Exactly. That's very smart. That's why I'm like, join one or two at most, be very active and be very involved. And also, like I said, don't start to offer things until you're ready. I think that's, to me, key. Don't do bad work. That's not the place where you go find free work, in my opinion. You go to a chamber to find paying clients. Obviously, I'm not talking about the chamber itself. I'm saying the people you're networking with. So when you're new, my suggestion is always find the businesses that you want to work with and offer to work for free. That's okay. But only when you're learning, and I wouldn't go do that at the chamber. That's okay to do that in general and get your craft right. Because when you're joining the chamber, you should be good enough to offer your services. Right. And then obviously then do good work because, like I said, they talk, they're there because they want to be part of a community. And I think the word spreads like wildfire. If you go do good work, people will know. And that's what I love about coming to Western Chamber. I've never once told, I make, I'm like, okay, we'll make a good looking video. Sure. But I never talk about the cameras we use, the audio we use, even though in this podcast, I may have talked about it a lot, but, tell me, from your experience, I've never gone to a chamber and said, oh, we use, this camera or this, because they don't know. The chamber members have no idea and they don't most likely don't care. Right. They care about is what's the result, what's the problem they have, and can we offer a solution?
Right. I trust your craft. I don't know a lot about this world. I've seen videos that I love that I'm sure were shot on an iPhone, and I've seen other ones that are tens of thousands of dollars worth of production equipment. It again goes back to identifying what the needs of the chamber are, and how you can offer them what they need, and based on the event, based on what they're trying to get across. Sometimes it may be a more low budget. Other times it's going to be a bigger production, and so certainly I don't think that we're as in the weeds on the technical specifications. I want something that looks good and paints the chamber in a good light. Make sure that our businesses are painted in good light and that what we're putting out there is a quality product.
Okay. That is well put again. So here's what I want to know now. I think you have a perfect client's perspective in a way too. Okay. I think people want to hear. So for us, obviously we know a difference, right? I could bring a camera this tiny, that's $5,000, a camera this big, that maybe $500. You don't know because, like I said, it all looks the same, or maybe bigger or smaller. So here's the thing that people say, and I also say it. When clients don't know what camera is, a bigger is better, just because it's that perceived value. Okay. When you're paying for it, or when you order video, and if somebody shows up with this tiny camera, it doesn't matter if it's like $20,000, and somebody shows up with a big camera, full rig, it to somebody who is not in the industry may look. And I'm not saying there's cameras that are that big, that are really good, but you don't know. So I'm saying to somebody who's out of this industry, that does matter. What's your opinion on that?
It doesn't matter.
So
It's
you
the
think
quality of the product.
So if two you hired, and obviously let's say both were good quality.
Yeah.
One company showed up with a tiny camera, one with a big camera. Does that change perceived value or no, according to you?
No. It's the professionalism of the individual. I think that it'll show in the quality of the product, the final product, but I'm not going to know the difference between, $20,000 or a $20.
Yeah.
And now if you come out with a, one of those Polaroids or something like that,
Yeah.
I'm probably going to start questioning something like that.
Yeah,
but
if somebody pulled out an iPhone,
I'd be like, I'm sure you can get the job done. But I think at the end of the day, no, for me, it's about the finished product. So, knowing that your skill set and what you're going to put out there is good.
And how are you looking at that? So again, we, look at a lot of things like, depth of field, foreground elements, background elements, a lot of stuff that we are looking at.
Sure.
But to somebody, again, who's not looking at the craft, you're looking at the end product.
Right.
How do you separate, let's say, a mid-tier product from a high-tier product? What are you perceiving, I'm saying?
So for me, when I look at something personally, I'm looking at what is my member going to see? What is the message that they're going to get? If we're talking about technical, specifications, when you're talking about those background or foreground, shots, who's in those pictures? What are they doing? And I may be getting a little bit into the weeds here, but I want to paint my organization in a good light. So if you're doing video shoot and in the background, there's a bunch of folks standing around with cocktails in their hands, for me, that's a limited use opportunity for my video.
Yeah.
I'm not going to want to put that out there in places where that may not be accepted, or one of my members may not appreciate having, somebody from their organization in the background having a cocktail. So I don't want to have to think about that. I want the person that I'm hiring to do the work, or that is volunteering their services to think about those things. Think about, what is this going to portray to my membership? Is this going to paint the organization in a good light? Goes back to, and I know I keep harping on it, making sure you know the organization, and you know the needs, and you know the message that they're trying to get across. Because my focus is, while I love our networking events and find, our members find great value in them, my focus is not delivering a great networking event. That's part of what I'm doing, but my focus is making sure that we are showing the value of chamber membership, the value of connections. And the way that I'm doing that is, if it's being told through your video, through your storytelling, I want to make sure that that's being done, that paints the organization in a positive light. So when I look at these videos, when I look at things, production quality is obviously important. Are you interviewing the people that we talked about? Are you capturing the shots that we talked about? What's going on in the background? Is it painting the organization in a good light? Are you capturing the shots that we needed in a way that is, painting the folks that are being caught on camera, captured on camera, in a positive light? And then, what can we utilize this for? Can we utilize it in multiple ways? Can we utilize it in future advertising? Can we utilize it as a recap? How much tread can we get off of this particular video? How much tread can we get off of it for our recruitment and retention? And, how many ways can we use this? The more ways we can use this, the better, which is also better for you as the
video gets seen more, right? Yeah. And because all we'll do, look at that. Here's all at least the way I partner. All I want to do is put a tiny little logo at the end of the video that says video partners. So you have to understand, from my perspective, I'm just trying to get people to watch to the end. Funny enough, believe it or not, in videos, that's the hardest thing. If I don't know if you've noticed yourself, if you ever go on social media, how much people scroll. Very few people actually get to an end of a video. But the people that get to the end of the video are the most dedicated people, and they're gonna do the call to action that you put at the end. Right. So all my strategy has been, at least with chamber, is partner with the right chamber, then partner at their major events, and then also make good videos. And at the end of the day, all I'm trying to do is put a tiny little logo at the end, because I'm like, hey, ideally, if we make good video, chamber gets a good benefit. They get whatever the message is, or whatever the purpose of the video is. But if people make it to the end, they'll know who made the video. So every business needs video. So when they do, hopefully they'll come to me. Simple as that, right?
Yep.
And it's like I said, it's worked for me. I love the strategy, and it's both ways, beneficial, because it's only towards the end. So if they're making it to the end, they better be interested in the video.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're not even making it to the end. That's just how videos are, which is why you have to limit them. You don't want to go into analytics. 2 minutes. Most people don't want to watch anything over 2 minutes. It's very hard. Except it's long form. For some reason, people love podcasts. So it's kind of like that. You have to very nuance, find what the audience will bear.
I think what you're saying is get to know your chamber and get to know what they need.
Exactly. Look at that. Yes. So go to the chamber, get to know them, be involved, find out what they need.
And the businesses too. Same thing with the businesses that are involved with the chamber. Get to know what they need. And that's there's a lot of folks in that space here. And here's the reality of it, and feel free to speak on it if you disagree, but we're in a place where there's professional folks in this space that can do this professionally, and they have production companies, they have millions of dollars, and so you have to offer something that's unique and to a unique client. That's the difference here in Central Florida. May not be the case everywhere, but making sure that you know your audience and you know the space that you're working in is important.
No, we're literally next to Disney. I mean, I think one of the biggest media companies in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're trying to, and again, it may be different in a different market, but regardless, if you want, and plus it's accessible now. See, in the past it wasn't. It was very easy to vet people because they're like, well, if you can afford $100,000 camera, you must not be doing this for hobby. Now it's like, a $3,000 camera looks so good that you don't need the $100,000 camera for most of these corporate type of jobs. So it becomes harder because Full Sail will literally give you like an FX6, which is a $5,000-$6,000 camera, as part of your kit when you join, to learn filmmaking or whatever. So now everyone's walking out with an industry standard camera, and the skill level may vary a lot, right? So the equipment doesn't matter as much anymore. It's more the skill level, and then the like we've been talking about, the relationship building, the storytelling ability. So here's what I want to know from you. I think to me, the biggest issue that I've noticed for our industry isn't actually equipment or all of this. Is the best people I love to work with are small businesses. Because you can work directly with the business owner, right? I love where we can go, a roofer or a dentist or wherever, where you can immediate make impact, because videos work. Like we've talked about. So you make them really impactful videos. You can integrate them into their processes. They can, within 3 months, usually double, triple their revenue. It's amazing. And you can directly work with a business owner who goes, changed my life, essentially, pretty much. And for us, it's like such an incredible feeling because it's, a mutually beneficial thing.
You're impactful.
Exactly. However, since the education is not there, because all these big companies are paying for researches, and like Disney knows what video can do. That's why they're spending so much on video marketing. The small business doesn't have access to this knowledge, so they typically don't know the impact. So they'll go, oh, $15K, $20K, that's like too much money for me. So we end up typically working with, a lot of more times with bigger companies who'll just come and say, oh yeah, we want to make this video, here's $50K, because they know what it costs and what it works. As long as they know you can execute it, there's a budget. So you end up going, do I spend 3 weeks educating this client that I know can be so amazing, or I can go take this immediate cash and go make this big company a commercial or training videos or whatever. So that's what we're fighting. Once you get established, you're like, all the monies and the big companies and the funny thing also I've talked about is that they'll trust your craft. They only hire experts. So they'll give you money and also go let you do what you want to do. Very rarely on my bigger projects I have like more than one revision. Versus on smaller projects, they are more concerned about, oh, I look a little fat here, or my, or whatever. The things that don't actually matter. It's more about just being authentic and putting it out there. So the thing I'm trying to get to is, how do we business owners go about educating our favorite clients, small businesses who can benefit the most from it, value of it? I don't know. If there even is a solution to that.
So I think the numbers don't lie. First and foremost, the product that you're putting forward, making sure that you're delivering the quality product, that's visible. That's very visible. But beyond that, having those testimonials that you're talking about, if there's folks that are doubling or tripling their revenue, that no longer becomes a an opportunity. That's a straight return on investment. And so if you have those testimonies of folks that are experiencing that, get those testimonies, maybe take a video of them, if you have that ability.
That. Yeah, exactly.
But get those testimonials. And then I would also say that, get yourself a good white paper. And this is where, you got to think about your opportunities. There's a lot of benefits and resources available to you as a chamber member. And while I'm speaking specifically on the West Orange Chamber, most chambers have a similar business model in that, depending on your membership level, you have the ability to do social media posts, you have the ability to do email communication, you have the ability to advertise. And so if you have these data facts that you can put out there, find the right medium, find the right opportunity to advertise within the chamber's membership, and get that data out there, because there's folks that are, we have a great open rate on our emails because we try to make sure that we're putting relevant content and information in them. And so whenever you're sending that stuff out, it's an opportunity for you as a business owner to advertise with the chamber. So not only do you have the credibility and reputation, you're putting credibility and legitimacy around your business, but when you start to put out those data facts that are sharing that story, folks are looking at it and saying, okay, there's a straight return on investment. If I spend this much money here, that's going to double my revenue, triple my revenue. That becomes there's a business case for spending that money right away.
Yeah.
So I think
that's very smart. So put up a case study. Obviously, we don't promise anything. So for example, at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're making, videos, right? Simple as that. We're going to make the best videos at a given budget. That's all I promise my clients. I'm like, look, I can't promise revenue or anything, but this is the data points that are being given by our existing clients. It works. Clearly it works. Otherwise, these companies are not stupid. They're spending hundreds of thousands with us making similar videos.
Right.
Clearly it works. Because, as you know, bigger companies are actually even more stringent with spending.
Right.
So if they're spending on video like nobody's business, it actually works. But that's actually a very smart idea. I think and most people, I think, listening can do that. Once you do have those clients that it has worked for, go record those testimonials, put the data points. You can always put a disclaimer like, look, we're not a marketing company. Right. We're not trying to sell you KPIs or whatever.
Right.
It just works. As long as you listen to the problem of the business owner, you solve the business owner's problem, whatever that may be, you're going to give them results because that's literally what the video is accomplishing. And as we know, people buy from people they know, like, and trust. Yeah. And video is the fastest way to skip that year-long, like we're talking about business relationship. I go to build at the chamber, and it can be a lot easier if what you're selling is a lot easier to buy. Yeah. Obviously, it may not work for video, but I'm saying it may work for, like, if somebody that you're meeting is, like, I don't know, a real estate agent, or they sell some kind of product, makeup, whatever. It's a lot easier to get them that ROI by making these good videos. So,
absolutely.
So I think that's amazing. Yeah, that's a good way to put at it, because at the end of the day, what we want to do is obviously make money. We're businesses, but we want to make impact while doing that. So we want to work with the most, biggest organizations we can make impact. Mm-hmm. Like last year, I had the opportunity to work on this documentary, and it's going to save lives. And when you do that, you're like, oh, I'm getting paid to capture, this content. And then once we put it out there, you're telling me we're going to save a plane, the way they put it, a plane full of people every day. And I'm like, that's so impactful, right? And so we as filmmakers just want to tell these amazing stories, but at the same time, we want to get paid. And that tends to end up being, like I said, these bigger businesses with bigger budgets. But like I said, my favorite part, at least, is helping small businesses. Right. So I would love to put some of these data points together and share with the community and use the resources, like you said, of the chamber. Yeah.
And that's the thing is not only is taking advantage of your chamber membership, attending networking events or other events that are offered, but, taking advantage of those mediums that we have, the network that we have and have established. Take advantage of that, check out what the advertising opportunities are, and, utilize them to your fullest, to the fullest extent and to your fullest advantage.
Yeah. So Chamber can offer Social media advertising, Chamber can offer email, email newsletter type of blast. Chamber, you can do like we've talked about already, the events. There's a lot more opportunities. Anything I'm missing?
No, I think that you're capturing them good there.
Also, the website. I remember in the beginning when we joined, I put my banner on the website too.
Yeah.
So that's another way. So there's a lot of ways you can get, again, advertising, credibility, recognition is just by putting your logo, with an organization like the Chamber. And so, once you get some money, I would highly recommend, again, in my opinion, obviously we've shown with Ben being here how you can do Instagram ads and other stuff to gain sales. But I think for me, what's worked is Chamber because, again, like I said, you have two different perspectives. So I had a buddy, Ben, explain, all about how he can get sales through Instagram. My thing is I'm trying to sell, my product isn't cheap. It's not expensive for what it is, but it's not cheap.
Right.
And I don't think those people are sitting on Instagram going, let me buy, this 10 grand video or whatever. So I find that the Chamber is a better advertising opportunity because Chamber owners, you can build those relationships and take your time with it. So I think, that's very good.
And it's a long-term, right? That's the other thing. And we talked about that early on is a long-term investment. It's a long-term commitment. But once you establish that relationship, once it's there, it's going to pay dividends.
Yeah. And you can benefit from other ways. So here's how I benefited. I needed to buy a house. I'm like, all right, where's the mortgage guy, right? That's how you look around you and you go, I'm meeting this guy for a while, so let me talk to you. And so Chamber can help you in other ways. Or you can go, I need to do this, or I need to do security cameras. Who's the low voltage person, right? So you slowly start to not only benefit from your own business, but from the network in general you're building. Again, giving business to other Chamber members. And again, if you're active, you have these relationships, I would rather do business with other Chamber members than, just some random vendor that I don't know. Again, I don't understand their quality or trust their quality or any of that.
100%.
So you can actually end up, fun enough, giving back to the people that, you're networking with. So it's actually a give and take relationships because as you need services, Chamber is the best place. Hopefully you already know someone who does that.
Right.
But if not, you can always pick up the phone, call the Chamber and be like, hey, I'm looking for a real estate agent or whatever. And they'd be happy to give you some options to pick from, right?
For sure. And we get those phone calls every single day is, the power of networking and, doing that, we get phone calls. It's funny now, I've been in my position for, about 16 months and I now get texts from my neighbors. They're looking to me for, hey, who's the Chamber member that can do this, or who's the Chamber member that can do that, and it's cool because you see the power of networking, right? And I've met so many people that offer everything from soup to nuts, and to be able to establish that network and know that you're talking to somebody that's reliable because they're not going to want to deliver a bad product or service to you because. Then what are you going to do the next time that you're, somebody's asking you for a recommendation or you're at a networking group, somebody's asking, they want to make sure that they're putting their best foot forward. And so,
referral marketing, especially when you're in a community, is so powerful because guess what? Like you just said, if somebody called you, they need a roof or whatever, you're not going to recommend someone, who is going to do a bad job.
Right.
You're going to send a list of, people that are credible, that have been Chamber members that provide a good product. So when you're putting that, you're also putting, like you said, Chamber's reputation and your reputation on the line. And same thing with me. I will never recommend someone who I don't trust. But when you do those, when, like, for example, I needed a fence or whatever, when I got that recommendation, I'm like, oh, I trust this. You don't even have, when the vendor comes, I'm like, just give me a code. I don't need to worry about you building like trust or whatever. I already trust the person who recommended you to me. Well, and that can be, I don't know, very beneficial.
Yeah. And I think that, this is an interesting full circle moment, when you talk about your relationship with Chambers and your ability to do work for them, you also reach a point where some of the nuances that we talked about. And so it provides better opportunity, long-term opportunities for those relationships. And, you're the person that they're going to go to. And so speaking specifically for the video world, the videography world, that's how you establish that relationship is, once you deliver a quality product or service the first time, the next time it's going to be that much easier to get through it. And then the next time, you're going to get to a point where, you send them over the first edit and they're like,
Yeah.
This is great. This is
Exactly.
fantastic.
Yeah. And it's always generally if people want change, it's something very small or
Right.
little, and that's okay. Yeah. Very rarely once you have that understanding, so it makes your job easier too, like our job to give that better result. No, I think this is incredible talk that we're having so far. Like people are learning so much. I'm learning, and so I'm hoping other people
Awesome.
are. So now I want to know, like higher level, what does a chamber press? Obviously, I know when we get involved,
Yeah.
mostly I'm dealing, like you said, with the chamber staff. It's either just about membership
Sure.
or events and the way we can get involved. When we are obviously doing video for the chamber, you and I will talk or whatever. But typically, I'm dealing with the chamber staff. So, what does a chamber president do? Because you're very busy, and I don't know what does a chamber president's life look like?
Comes on to podcast,
Yeah.
does that kind of stuff.
That's why when I asked, I was like, I hope you have 2 hours. This is a long one, so
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. My day to day, it's a little bit different from day to day. My job is to facilitate the governance of the organization. So, in my day to day, I work with our board of directors. I work with our executive committee. I have, work with our committee structure. So my staff also works with our committees, but at the end of the day, I make sure that I'm heavily involved with what our committees are doing to make sure that we're delivering value to our membership. So when I talk about the governance of the organization, that's focusing on the strategy, making sure that we have a strategic plan that's delivering value to our membership, delivering value to our community. I have relationships and established relationships with our elected officials. We get involved heavily in state politics, local politics, at the county level. I build relationships with the municipalities that we represent. And so this goes back to a member benefit is I'm establishing these relationships so that if you have an issue with your local government, your state government, I have a contact that we can reach out to help you with your business issue. So a lot of that, working with other community organizations and community partners, I try to make sure that I have good relationships with folks that are working in this space so that if there is an issue that's impacting our community that's broader than something just the West Orange Chamber can focus on, I have a Rolodex of contacts that I can reach out to if it's in the, depending on what industry it is, I can reach out to my counterpart that is over a trade association or a chamber that also does work in that space. So establishing those relationships with community partners, and then also just working with our members to understand the needs of the business community, make sure that we're responsive to them, that anything that we're advocating for politically is aligned with what our business leaders need, aligned with what our industries and organizations that we represent need. And then, just on a day-to-day level also, just like you all as business owners, I'm focusing on the finances and operations of the organization. So we run an organization that I have a staff of 6 to 7. We're in the process of hiring right now. That I'm managing day-to-day operations. So just working with our staff, we have a team that focuses on membership, team that focuses on events, marketing and communications. Then we have someone that focuses on government affairs and community relations. So, making sure that the operations of the chamber, making sure that we're delivering value to our membership, and we're also, delivering on our purpose of advancing community collaboration and leadership. That's the 3 areas that we focus in. And so everything that I do ties back to our purpose in delivering community collaboration and leadership.
That's a lot. But so are us business owners. Sometimes you have those long days, long hours, because at the end of the day, there's so much to do, right? From managing staff to managing all sorts of other things for you. Obviously, like you said, it's also on the governance level and community relations. And that's what I like. So as a business owner, I'm very busy. Half the time I'm on a plane. It's so annoying. You don't want to know. Airport is where I end up finding myself a lot because a lot of projects tend to be all over the country. And so I can't actively be involved, going meeting like local elected officials or any kind of laws that are being passed. It's very hard to remain focused on that because it's already hard to just keep up with the video industry because our industry moves like at such speed, that it can be hard. And that's why I love being, like I said, remember, we're part of the business community once you form a business, and you want to make sure the laws being passed are pro business and benefit, business community as in general, because you are part of it.
Right.
And sometimes they can be nuanced, they can hide things we don't know. And that's why I love being member of, chambers, because at the end of the day, I know that my dollars are going towards making sure that no law is going to pass, or nothing silly is going to happen in the community that is going to hurt me indirectly. And if something like that is even at the table, I'll know from a newsletter or something like that.
Right.
And I don't know. I've loved that part of it too.
Yeah, and we try to make sure that our businesses are protected. We facilitate the conversations with elected officials so that they know what our business owners are facing. And then we try to keep our members informed. So, we're not always going to be successful in, supporting or opposing legislation that impacts businesses. But I can promise you that we're aware of them and we're doing everything we can to advocate on your behalf. And then at the end of the day, we also want to make sure that we are a resource to you as a business owner, and knowing, what's coming down the pike, what's going to impact you, whether
so you can be prepared.
So you can be prepared. And then, offering ourselves as a resource for, facilitating those connections.
Yeah. And I think it's the power, right? I think U.S. Chamber of Commerce is one of the largest what's the word?
Trade organization,
in the country, and then it's built up off these. So you invest, I think, in your local chamber, then the chambers work together, like in our state through Florida, I think Chamber of Commerce, then that works through U.S. Chamber. What I'm saying is, there's people advocating from you, and it's small little thing can become, very powerful because it's small businesses that join together, and slowly you can reach, that higher level. And at least, like you said, we can't guarantee it. I don't even know what's happening. Like I said, I'm not involved like you are. I'm just like, I don't want anything that to make it's already hard being a small business owner, and I'm one of the lucky ones. Like I said, I reached 7 figures. So many business owners in the video world I meet, they're like, just trying to make it to 6 figures.
Right.
So I'm saying it's so hard to keep up with any of this. So just good knowing that there's an organization, and other partnering organizations that are trying to advocating and making sure that it doesn't become harder to do business than it already is.
Right. And that's what we focus on. We really do. We talk about the shiny objects, which are the networking events, the sponsorships, the opportunities to advertise. But we're also doing this in the background too, right? We're making sure the businesses are protected. We're making sure the businesses are advocated for. And that we are able to help you navigate the complex network of government agencies, elected officials, things like that you don't have the time as a business owner to focus on.
Plus, I'm pretty sure if I approached them, they wouldn't care. Because like I said, I may feel like, oh, I'm doing really well in the video world. I'm like nothing. Like you compare me to Disney, it's like, what? Vendra, who's? And that's true. So for them, they're going to focus on these bigger organizations.
Yeah. So
I think I'd rather go through the chamber if I ever needed anything.
And here's the cool thing about it too, right? Is when you join a chamber, you're joining something that's so much bigger than you. So yes, while you may be competing in the same space, you are also, when you join collectively, in the West Orange Chamber or whatever chamber you're a member of comes together, then you have the power behind you. You have the power of a large network of businesses that represent a broad spectrum of industries that, Vendra and your team of individuals that you employ, yes, small. But when you add that to the network of members in the chamber, you start to add up the economic impact there. And we start to put numbers around that. That's something that your elected officials, that you're can't ignore.
Yeah.
So it's the power of the collective when we're all working together, when we're all focusing on the same issues that impact businesses. Yes, you can compete by day, but at the end of the day, what's good for the business community is good for the entire business community. What's bad for the business community is bad for the entire business community. And so putting yourself and investing in an organization that allows you to pool resources and make sure that you are your voice is heard, whether in the state capitol or Washington, D.C. or even locally, it's important. And the only way to do that is to join something that's bigger than yourself, broader than yourself, that is advocating on your behalf.
And Chamber is a nonprofit organization,
It is,
right?
yeah.
So it is it's very, like I said, it's something bigger than you. But like I said, immediately join here. Like I said, I'm happy to, like, my strategy is very simple. And if anyone wants to copy it, be my guest. Find the chamber, like we've said before, in your local area that you feel obviously is a legitimate organization and is the most active. Be involved, be active, offer your services, make the good nuanced product that they're looking for so they can share with your audience. And as long as you're doing a great job, you'll find sales, which is what I think most people are listening to this are looking for: higher revenue, higher sales. And at the end of the day, know that it's not just that, the shiny part, which is the networking, and use the, the advertising resources and everything. But then now you have a resource where you can just pick up the phone and you can ask for whatever you need, whether that's another vendor or something to do with elected officials or something on the local government side, right?
Soup to nuts, everything. we got it.
Awesome. So before we start wrapping this up, I want to know, what else does Chamber do that maybe something that we don't think about normally?
Yeah. Some unique things that we do here at West Orange Chamber. We make sure that we are providing, we talk about advertising opportunities, right? So, our business directory and things that we put out there, we talk about the business community, we talk about getting engaged with elected officials, but believe it or not, chambers are still a real resource for like travelers or folks that are moving to the community. And so something that we do is we try to make sure that we're a resource to our municipalities, and our municipal partners come to us. We provide literature to them on, businesses in the area, and, try to make sure that folks that are moving to the area know a little bit about the area. We think that, everybody thinks that that's all done online. You would be shocked at the number of folks that walk into our chamber office and are like, "Hey, I'm visiting from out of town."
Oh, really? That
can you tell me, what's there to do around town? Where's the nearest park, or where's the nearest, where's a good restaurant to eat? It's funny, but people still come in.
I didn't know that, but that's pretty cool.
It's an older demographic these days. Most folks are on the phone or, on their computer looking this stuff up, but there's still folks that come into the office and ask for that kind of stuff. So
you're also being a community resource.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Community resource, not only for businesses, but, folks will come in and literally, a couple months ago, folks come in and, we're like, do you have a paper map? And I'm like, well, we do. We don't get rid of we don't get rid of them often, but we do still have that stuff. So a lot of folks still look at the Chamber of Commerce as their stop whenever they get into town, so that they can find out. What do the locals
is a tangent,
do?
But I don't think I've ever looked at the paper map. Real. I have looked. Okay, so the only map I've ever looked at, I don't play video games. I bought GTA 5 a long time ago. So they do inserts. So the video game came with the fake, like a map of the fake city in the game. That's the last map I remember ever touching. So that's crazy that
The last one I touched was probably at a theme park. Theme park
okay,
maps.
I wasn't thinking that.
It's funny.
But even those was years ago.
Yeah. Well, I grew up here, and it's funny. I grew up here, and still every time I go into a park, I grab a map. I'm like, I've been to all these parks 100 times.
My daughters will do that, and it annoys me. I'm like, stop wasting paper. We already know where everything is. We've been here hundreds of times.
It's something about it sitting there. It's a freebie, so you grab it. But folks still come into the chamber for that kind of stuff, and we're happy to provide that resource. Some people come in to lodge complaints against businesses, and we try to work through it with them. And
that's interesting too.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often, but folks.
I get that one. I'm like, okay, you'd go to a business organization.
Yeah, I'm like, well, talk to the Better Business Bureau. I'm not gonna talk badly on my members, but folks do come in with that. And then something else that we do, and we touched a little bit on it, is developing those relationships with other organizations in the community. We have the relationships with elected officials and stuff like that, but I'm sure in your world, there's organizations that focus solely on folks that are producing, that are videographers. There's organizations and trade organizations that are focused in specific industries. I can't be an expert on all of those industries. So if I don't know something, I'll reach out to my counterpart that's an expert on tourism or hospitality construction. We have these organizations that we partner with, that we have relationships with, that we can, rely on to provide, either greater knowledge on a subject. So really establishing those relationships.
No, and I love that about the West Orange Chamber of Commerce, because, you would think, well, maybe somebody would think, I don't think, but that it would be like, oh, all enclosed. No, this is it. No, I love about West Orange Chamber of Commerce, because you guys are not only doing all the stuff that we've talked about, you're also partnering with these other organizations and treating them as friends and more resources than enemies. Because I've gone to so many events, just two that come into mind are like Rotary Club.
Yeah.
So people have been to chamber events and talked about like, hey, I'm a member of the Rotary Club, or I'm a member of West Orange, Horizon West Happenings. These are separate organizations, but they are part of the chamber because, like you said, it's a whole network of community that we have. Yeah. And I love that. I think that's how you build a better, bigger.
Yeah. And, that I think that's a good point to touch on is, when you join your chamber, while I want that to be your first stop and I want that to be a great resource for you, different organizations can offer different benefits. And that's something that I try to tell our members, whenever they're looking to come on board, and that I stress with my staff is not we're not going to be the right fit for every business. I hope you support us for the causes that we talked about, because we're advocating on your behalf, but we're not going to necessarily be the best place for you to network if, you are looking for more individual based, you're looking for those direct sales with individuals or households. We can offer some of that, but I don't have a lot of individuals. Most of the folks that are coming to chamber events are representing businesses. And so, that's the opportunity for that broader networking. Rotary clubs, things like that are also members of the chamber. Those are good places to network if you're trying to, depending on what your line of work is. So chamber can offer a lot, but, I would also encourage folks to look at other community organizations that they can expand that network. And there's going to be a lot of overlap and things like that, but there's also some unique opportunities when you start to get involved in a community and can identify what would be another good group, whether it be a Rotary or something like that, to get involved with.
No, that's incredible. So here's something that, I guess if people are not local, they would not know. So West Orange Chamber, so I started there when I joined, Stina was the president. She was president forever. So how does it feel to take over an organization with such strong legacy?
Yeah.
I don't know. Tell me more about that part. I just want to know, how'd you feel? How you fit in now?
So,
how long have you been president now?
We're going on 16 months.
16 months. So look at that.
Yeah. So
you're now fully integrated.
Rocking and rolling. It's interesting. This chamber was, there was such a legacy that was left by my predecessor, and just coming into a situation where we had a very healthy organization. We have great volunteer leaders. We have great members. We have money in the bank, which sometimes with not-for-profits, that's where we talk about finding the legitimate chambers and the legitimate organizations. We're very fortunate that we were in a good financial position. And that a lot of great things have been done. We have built a reputation. Stina and her team had built a reputation that, kind of the reputation precedes yourself. And that was me, right? So there was instant credibility when I came on board, because folks had been doing business with the West Orange Chamber for so long that they, I automatically had credibility within my peer network, within the chamber world and the community. So, folks saw me as the new person that was coming on board. And so that was really nice. So that made the transition a lot easier. I also had the added benefit of growing up here in Central Florida. So born and raised in Central Florida. I'm one of the few native Floridians. So had that as a benefit. And, that also helped to establish some of those relationships and cultivate some of those relationships that, had all the ones that the chamber had and that my predecessor had. But I also had some relationships here in the community. And so that's been really nice to be able to bring some new folks, new organizations, new, community groups into the fold and be able to really continue to build on that great legacy that the West Orange Chamber has.
That's awesome. Yeah, because like I said, she was there a long time.
22 years.
Yeah, 22 years. And then when she finally made the decision to retire, I was like, I don't know who's going to step up to fill her shoes. So what made you want to apply for the role? What did you do before this?
Yeah. So it's funny, you talk about being on an airplane. I was on an airplane for the last 12, 13 years of my career.
Oh,
wow. And, I worked for a national trade organization based out of Washington, D.C., the Associated Builders and Contractors.
Okay.
We had offices across the country, 68 chapters in 48 states.
Oh, wow. So yeah, you were.
Yeah. So I was all over, always based here in Central Florida, but prior to this was working for that organization for 16 years. So started when I was in college working at the local office up in Tallahassee, FSU, go Knowles. And then, moved back down to Central Florida after graduating and went to work for the local organization down here. And then shortly after that, got hired by the national organization. And that's kind of where my career in association management took off, right? So I did the government affairs side and really enjoyed that aspect of it. But my passion was really the association and not-for-profit management. And so, moved back down here and had been involved with ABC for a long time. Kids are getting a little bit older, and I'm like, you know what? It's time to get off the road. And so there had never been anything that had really interested me. I loved my job and my role, but I saw it as an opportunity. I mean, how often does an organization with a reputation like the West Orange Chamber have?
Apparently once in every 22 years.
Once in every 22 years. And so, it aligned with my personal beliefs and philosophically was an organization that my beliefs and pro-business could obviously get behind. And so, took the leap of faith and, literally I live in West Orange. I've always lived in West Orange, born and raised in Apopka, but moved over to the area that I'm in now, and it's literally 12 to 15 minutes from my house, depending on how the traffic is that day. You can get there as quick as 10 if there's no traffic on the road. So how often does a role like that open up in your backyard that aligns?
I couldn't even find a house there. Talk about. So I appreciate you driving all the way to Winter Park. Yeah. No, that was my big problem. I was trying to find. I've always lived in that either Dr. Phillips, Millennia area. So, well, not as west as Winter Garden, but still, I would say West Orange side.
That's West Orange.
Yeah. So I was like trying to find a home in in Dr. Phillips area, and I could not find everything has a HOA, and that was my one requirement. I was like, I cannot have HOA. My real estate agent went so far to like email these HOAs. Can he park a van here? And I'm like, no, I don't care. Even if they say yes, they could change.
I don't want to change
tomorrow.
it.
I was like, no, not worth it. So I had to move. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that far, but still, I don't. This is my first time ever being on this side of town.
Yeah.
So I appreciate
We'll bring you back over to West Orange.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I told her. I was like, it's so funny. I don't think how many clients she has who's buying a home is saying, I already know I'm going to be selling this and moving back. But then, to be real, I've been here now a few months and I'm actually starting to like it. It's not the same. Going to a theme park is not as fast. Yeah. Because, we could just get up 15 minutes here at Magic Kingdom, 5 minutes here at Universal. Yeah. It's not the same. It takes 30, 45 minutes. Yeah. So that's the only negative. Yeah. But it's not bad.
Wait till those daughters are getting a little bit older. Exactly. You're going to be like, I can't keep doing this.
No. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah. So that was the unfortunate part. I'm technically not in West Orange anymore. But
your office is still there, though.
Yes. So the company's not moving. Yeah. I was like, nope. Yeah. We're established. Our office is still there. So the company's technically still in West Orange. And I'm not planning to change that.
Well, can't pass up the opportunity to say that West Orange is the best place to live, work, and do business. So, anyone who's
I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you because technically, like I said, my business is still based out of that Millennia area, and I'm not planning to really change that because worked for years. Why
Yeah,
change it, right? Plus, I
absolutely.
barely go to office. Like I said, my office is a plane or a phone. You know,
Yeah,
that's
well,
basically
yeah.
it.
Well, when you have a great setup
Yeah.
like you do, it
Yeah,
makes
this
it
is,
easy.
by the way, this plan wasn't to use this space. So like I said, most businesses that we want to film at their location.
Yeah.
So their location. So I was really excited to partner with them on the Big Orange Awards this year. When you gave that idea, I was like, oh, this space would be incredible because I built it primarily to do this and just a space to work. But I was like, this studio is, and funny enough, I have friends with studios that are smaller than this that they charge money for.
Yeah.
So I was like, this studio is perfect partnership. So your project is the first one going to be done here.
Oh, cool.
Where we're going to have clients over. What do you think?
Yeah.
Is it good enough?
You've done a great job. You've done a great job getting this set up.
I'm glad you're here so you can confirm this is good enough to get
Cool.
clients here. You know, we even put a makeup area.
Yeah.
We put candy for them. Hopefully they're going to be happy. Because, like I said, typically we don't film in studios anymore. That I find that's changed. Maybe commercials.
Yeah.
But most businesses now want to be authentic. They want to show that. But what we're doing for Big Orange Awards, the studio made more sense.
Yeah.
So this was like the perfect combination of like, oh, it's just getting done.
Yeah.
Now, we have this amazing project.
Yeah.
Why? And plus it'll be very efficient for them too, because they
Yeah.
can just come in, get it done, get out of there. We don't have to like spend hours setting up at their location. So
Yeah.
it doesn't take that much time out of their day. So that was very interesting. So I'm looking forward to that. Now, before we wrap this up, again, I want to know, we have some time for 15 minutes. So how else can a business owner, no, actually, let's take it more. So we've talked about how they can get involved. What I want to know is, as a video business owner, right?
Okay.
You're new to business. You don't know much. Obviously, you've joined the chamber. You're very active. What to do next? Like, give some pointers, because you hang out with business owners who are, at the top of Central Florida to small business owners. How can they level up fast? Do you have any tips or tricks?
I want to be careful on the leveling up fast. I think that it has to be you have to be careful with that. When folks that are, have risen to these high levels in their organizations are looking for who they're doing business with, you get 100 phone calls a day of somebody that wants to do an interview, somebody that wants to sell you this product or service. I think that you have to be careful with how quickly, that meteoric rise, it happens. I'm not denying that, but I think that you have to make sure that you are taking an approach that folks are comfortable establishing a relationship. I would say that some things that folks are looking for is don't waste their time. Whenever, these folks that I'm dealing with on a daily basis, you cannot waste time. Time is a valuable resource. If folks are giving you the time of day, make sure you know what you're asking for. Make sure that you know what you can deliver on. Don't provide expectations that are unrealistic for you or for them, because it is going to lead to problems down the road. So make sure that I think whenever you're you're doing that and you're having those conversations and you have the opportunity to have those conversations, don't overpromise and underdeliver, because you do that one time. What you'd be surprised about, and I can speak to Central Florida, but I can tell you that it's the same everywhere, is I go to several events a week, a month, whatever, that you would be shocked at how many of the same people, the same executives that I run into at each of these events. That's a good thing, because if you put a consistent product out there, you put a service out there that somebody wants and you deliver on it, it's going to spread like wildfire. But just as easily, you get one bad review, that review is going to spread like wildfire, because these people are in these same meetings, these same events, these same community events, these same business meetings. And if you destroy your reputation with one of them, it's not going to take long before the rest of them, whether it's word of mouth, whether it's the product that you put out there. So make sure that whenever you do have the opportunity to work with these folks, you are delivering on expectations and that you are not overpromising it.
No, I completely agree. Don't do half-baked projects. I think that's a mindset change, right? For me, the biggest thing is it's very easy to scale video business up to like, let's just say like 100K or whatever, because then all you do is you get good at your craft, tell everyone, you're there, get hired by other marketing agencies or video people, and you can get there. Fine. But when you want to scale up from that, you have to become a business owner. And I think it's very, very important to understand that that's a very different ball game. It's not the same as I make good videos, hire me.
Yeah.
It's very different. It's very much like you said, if you want to get into these big companies, they all hang out together, they all know each other. So if you are going to do a project and let's say it's not up to your rate or where you want to be, don't half-ass it. Don't just just don't do it. I would rather them say no. My advice would be don't do it, or rather treat it as a great opportunity and 2x your effort. Don't take it. What I'm saying is like, don't be disappointed in the rate, because otherwise your product's going to suffer. And as soon as, like you said, they're going to see it, they're not going to care you didn't have enough money or budget or whatever. You're better off either saying no if you can't accomplish it, or just doing the better job anyway, because like I said, they all talk, they're all going to tell each other, and one bad review is like equal to 200 good reviews.
Right.
So you don't want one, and especially when they hang out, you're losing your chances of ever finding work with these big companies, and there's only so many of those. So the last thing you want to do is ruin that relationship just 100%. Because you weren't happy, or you weren't whatever the reason may be. I wouldn't risk it because it's not worth it.
No.
Because like you said, in here, and at least in Central Florida, it's only those, same Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, whatever. It's a tourism-based economy, or maybe healthcare-based economy. So it's only those 5 to 10 companies that you're going to end up at if you want to do high-level work.
There's a lot more than that. But, at the same time, everybody's running in the same circles. And the minute that you destroy your reputation with one, you might as well just give up on the others, because it's going to happen. But, the flip side of that is you deliver a good product, you deliver a good service, and folks see that, they're going to want to do business with you. So it's a double-edged sword. But at the end of the day, it's important that you stick to what you're good at and make sure that you're delivering a consistent product.
But I'm telling you, the reward is worth it. Because when I get sometimes a call and somebody's like, oh, we want this project. It sounds really awesome. I'm like, oh, perfect. My next question always is, so where'd you find out about us? And when they say, oh, we found out from you from West Orange Chamber, or we worked with this client, or we know this person who recommended you, and I know it's a West Orange Chamber member. It's such an incredible feeling. And what I love, the best thing for me is they'll reach out and they'll say, we'll start talking about they're like, yeah, I love your quality of work, or I love what you did. And I'm like, this is so incredible when you don't have to ever even talk about like we do good quality work or whatever, right? They already just come in already knowing that our work is going to be good. So now we can focus on actually getting the project right and getting their budget right, or whatever it may be. I love that, because it makes my job easier. And it makes it very easier to close deals, to do good work, because we're spending less time, like I said, building their credibility or building their relationship, especially with these warm leads. And you never know where it leads. Because with most video businesses, it's those 5, 10 top clients that pay, I would say 70, 80% of the revenue. And everyone's just trying to find those companies, because like I said, everyone needs a video. It's just finding that company that, meshes with you, right? That relationship. And you never know where that may come from.
Absolutely.
But that's like my favorite part.
I hope it comes from the chamber.
Yes. No, like you said, I'm very bullish on chamber. If anything anyone takes away from today is please join your chamber, be very active. And I think what they learn from you is get to know your chamber, right? Get to know the chamber, get to know the people. The people.
Get to know it. Just like, it's like the dating game, right? Get to know your chamber, get to know the folks that are involved, the folks that are actively involved, and learn from them. Learn what made them successful in their chamber journey, and take that and put your spin on it. Make sure that you're selling yourself, you're selling your product and service that you do well, and you're going to be successful.
And I'll be upfront with people. Look, here's the truth. I get it. If you're new, you're starting out, you're making, I don't know, I've even had people here who went from 10 grand to 100 grand. So if you're making 10 grand, you're making 50 grand, I get it. A chamber investment may sound a lot when you have rent, you have things do. So maybe wait, I get it. Like you don't have to join if you're in that stage. At that point, then work on your craft, right? Work on where you can find enough clients that you're not struggling for money. But as soon as you have it, in my opinion, the best investment you can make is go join a chamber, like I said, because and the other thing I would say is most chambers, I'm pretty sure restaurants does too, they have a non-chamber rate where you can go attend a few events.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
events, right?
Yeah. We do.
So you can. So what I'm saying is, you can always audition a few. So when you're starting out, nothing stops you from just going to a few events here, a few events here, there, until you find, the chamber that you fit well in, that you think you can benefit the most from, and then make that investment to join.
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, like I said, I get it. It's a lot of money when you're starting out, and it's a lot of time. But I don't think I've ever made a bad investment at any chamber.
No.
I have 100% record.
I love
it always comes back,
Awesome.
and it's always good, but it takes time.
Yeah.
Give it at least 1+ year, if not longer.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask for immediate returns. But again, like I said, I'm very bullish on it, and I will tell any video person listening here, look, if you want to be a camera guy or an editor, it's okay. Chamber is not for you. Just get your craft better. Go do your thing. I'll have season 2. I'll bring more video people on. But if you want to be any kind of business, like you want to be a production company or work with other businesses, like I said, I think that's the best thing that we've got out of today. If they haven't learned at this point, 2 hours into it, that they should join the chamber. I don't know what else to say at this point.
Join the chamber.
Yeah, be
join
active. Remember, and also act like a business owner. Like, you're not just there to sell. You're there to be part of the community. You're trying to make, doing business in your community easier, better.
Yeah.
And like I said, you get what you put into it. So
Absolutely.
put in a lot, and I'm pretty sure you'll be rewarded back as long as your craft matches what you're trying to sell. And don't burn bridges. Even if you don't like a chamber, don't burn bridges.
No.
Just say, just don't renew.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
But that's what I'm saying. Find your chamber that you like and stick with it.
I will say it's also important. I'm always looking for feedback. It's the feedback loop. We want to make sure that we are meeting expectations, just like you as a business owner. You want to make sure that you're meeting expectations for the product or service you're putting out. Your chamber is also concerned about making sure that we're delivering value to our members. So, whereas you measure your success based on your income, your revenue, your folks coming back to you again and again, we measure that, yes, through our members renewing their membership, but it's not the revenue aspect. Our sole purpose is to deliver value to our members, to make sure that we are promoting our and supporting our business community. And so, the way that we can give feedback is by you sharing it with us, telling us what your needs are, making sure that you are happy with your investment in your chamber, because we can't fix that. We can't go out and recruit new members or retain the existing members if we don't know if there's an issue.
Exactly. And that's where I would say use the video brain, because my biggest thing is we need to be problem solvers, not just video people. So if you see a problem at your chamber, obviously give the feedback, and funny enough, offer a solution.
Sure.
If video is the right solution, offer that. I would not just present a problem. I don't like to just be the problem guy, like, hey, this is what's wrong.
Yeah.
If you can fix it, then offer a solution. And again, I would offer to do it pro bono, because again, I think the return would be worth it. And plus, if you can help your chamber be better, why not?
Yeah.
But to be honest, I've not found that many problems with chambers. Now, I only join, again, you do your research, you join the good chambers, but if you do, they're genuinely out there to do what you just said.
Yeah.
Sat here, like, told me what you do. I know you do that. So I don't know why I would have a problem with that. But I'm just saying, if you are part of a chamber that's not as active, that's not going out there and doing, what they should be doing, then nothing stops you from approaching them and saying, because, it's okay to be in a tier 2, tier 3 city where there may be a smaller chamber, and approaching them with a solution like, hey, let's do more videos, or let's do something.
Yeah, communicate your needs.
Yeah, to get better engagement or whatever.
Sure.
Stuff like that. So
Awesome.
Steven, before we go, anything else you want to say or add?
No, just appreciate the opportunity, and certainly appreciate the craft that you provide to our chamber. But I know there's a lot of folks that are out there that are listening that, we're looking to do something similar, and just appreciate the work that you provide, and the spotlight that you put our chamber in. I hope that everybody has the ability to do that for their local chamber.
No, absolutely. And I don't know if you want to speak on that. What's the benefit the chamber has gotten out of some of the videos that we've done for it?
Sure. So, more than anything, it really highlights, we try to put those videos out, and it really highlights what the chamber has to offer by way of events. Most of our videos are of our events. We want to get the word out about those. I think that there's future opportunities for collaboration in different areas, whether it be on getting our legislative agenda put out there, things like that.
I've done something like that. So it was during Stina's time, but we worked with the the West Orange Foundation.
Yeah,
I did something for that. But yeah, exactly. No, there's a lot of opportunities out there to collaborate and partner with. But at the end of the day, like you said, the way I look at it is, we want to not only recap the event, but we want all the people that weren't there to go, "Ooh, I wish I was there." Right?
Yeah. And that's something. That's a story that only you all can tell. And so having that is a resource for us to tap into, to be able to share the stories and kind of share what was the what did this event do? What did it look like? It makes it easier for us to go out to our members in the future and say, hey, you want to attend this event, or you want to sponsor this event. So we utilize that all the time. And then just building hype and giving recognition to our membership. Again, that's what we're trying to do, is put a spotlight on our members and what our members are doing, the great things that they're doing in our community. And what better way to do that than have a video to tell the story?
Remember, we can tell emotions through videos. The best thing out there. Anyone who's where I would say West Orange or just Orange County in general, Claremont, what areas you would say, Dr. Phillips?
Yeah, Winter Garden, Ocoee, Oakland, Windermere, and Orlando are the municipalities represented, but O-Town West, Dr. Phillips, all of those areas, Orlo Vista, Pine Hills, all of those areas in between.
So if you're in any of those areas, I would highly recommend, look into joining the West Orange Chamber of Commerce.
Sure.
So if somebody was interested, who did they reach out to?
Yeah, absolutely. Amy Cervantes on my team is a fantastic starting point for that. Or you can go to our chamber website, wochamber.com. And, we would love to talk with you about the benefits of membership.
Awesome. Steven, again, I really appreciate you taking the time out and coming and talking to me. I appreciate you. And like I said, hopefully I would love to bring you back in the future in a couple of seasons. I want to have a couple of people who join, get benefits out of hopefully any chamber, or West Orange Chamber. And then we can follow up and see how that process went. That'd be incredible, maybe in a year or whatever to follow up on. But thank you. Awesome. I appreciate you taking, again, time out. And it was a great conversation.
All right. Thank you, sir.